Being a freelance audio engineer isn't as exciting as people think. Most of my work is cleaning up bad recordings, removing the hum of an air conditioner from a Zoom call, or trying to make a cheap podcast microphone sound decent. It's repetitive work, lonely grind, and most nights it's just me, a cup of coffee, and the blue light of my computer at 2 in the morning. So when a notification popped up, I didn't think much about it. The client had no reviews and no real profile, but they were offering $500 to restore a few damaged cassette tapes from 1986. Well, in this job, people stay anonymous all the time. Usually it's just someone embarrassed by their project, or the client is a self-conscious amateur, or a theater student with a vision. You learn not to ask too many questions, especially when the pay is good. The instructions were short. Restore the midtones. Isolate the voices. It's just an old theater rehearsal. I downloaded the files and listened as they loaded into my software. The tapes had that old, fuzzy cassette sound. It was familiar and comforting. At that moment, my whole world was just the audio tracks on my screen and the job in front of me. I was just doing my work. I had no idea I was about to hear something that was never meant to be heard clearly, or that by cleaning up the recording, I was making something else easier to hear. I started with a basic EQ sweep to figure out where the voices were sitting. On old tapes like these, the voices usually get buried under years of damage and noise. Then I heard something that shouldn't have been there. A steady thud, thud, thud. It was too regular to be footsteps and too deep to be someone's voice. In this job, you get used to finding weird sounds in recordings. Sometimes it's a problem with the tape machine. Sometimes it's electrical noise. Or something in the room where the recording was made. I told myself the tape was damaged. Maybe the theater had some old machine running in the basement. Maybe it was just an air conditioning system or a generator making that sound. I highlighted 3 seconds of the noise and played it on a loop. The sound was so low I could feel it more than hear it. It made my teeth ache. I kept telling myself it was just a glitch on the tape. Then I noticed something. The thumping wasn't random. Every time the people on the recording stopped their rehearsal, the thudding got louder. It was almost like it was waiting for them to be quiet. Next, I cleaned up the mid-range frequencies. That's where voices usually sit. Well, I expected to hear actors reading lines or someone giving directions. Instead, I heard chanting. A low, guttural chanting that didn't sound like it was coming from a throat, but from a chest cavity. Then I heard another sound, a wet, heavy, slapping noise. At first, I thought it was part of the recording. Then I realized I couldn't tell if it was coming from my speakers anymore. The room suddenly felt different. My studio is supposed to be completely silent, but the air felt heavy. That's when I started thinking that the people on the tape weren't rehearsing anything. They were getting ready for something. And whatever that slapping sound was, it didn't sound like footsteps or clapping. I opened the app again and looked at the job description. Just a theater rehearsal. The chanting kept getting louder, and the old theater rehearsal didn't sound old anymore. It sounded like it was happening right then, in my studio, like a live broadcast. The restoration bar was at 90%. I wasn't just an editor anymore. I was a participant. Every wet, heavy slap I had pulled out of the background noise was now coming from somewhere in the room. It sounded like something was dragging itself across the floor. I was completely overwhelmed. My monitors were screaming a digital ritual that I had sharpened into a weapon. My heart wasn't even beating normally. It seemed to be matching that low, thumping sound from the tape. Another realization hit me. I hadn't discovered this recording. I had helped it. I looked at the waveform on my screen. It didn't even look like audio anymore. It looked like some kind of pattern. Then the slapping sound stopped, right behind my chair. I felt something cold and damp on the back of my neck. The restoration bar moved again. 98%. 99. The silence didn't feel normal. It felt heavy, like all the air had been pulled out of the room. My studio is supposed to be quiet, but this was different. It felt like the whole room was closing in around me. Then something said my name.
Liam.
Not my name. My real name. The one on my driver's license. I froze. This wasn't some old recording from 1986 anymore. The broadcast ritual is complete, and the client's true requirement is finally, terrifyingly clear. The client wanted someone to listen to these tapes, someone alive, someone in the present. I've invited the anomaly in. I could hear the floor creaking behind me. I looked at the black screen of my second monitor and saw the reflection of my main screen. The waveform had gone completely flat. No sound, but I could still hear something in the room. It wasn't coming from my speakers anymore. It was here. The money wasn't for my skills, but for me. Then I heard the wet slap again. This time it was right behind me. My hands moved on their own. I attached the restored recording and emailed it to everyone I knew. My vision suddenly went dark. The last thing I saw on the screen was the word sent.